So what we are doing today is we're talking about fertilizing our blueberry bushes. Now for me, this is one of the things that I get asked most of any questions about the blueberries. And one of the ways that I know that it's time to fertilize is when you start seeing this new growth here on all the bushes going down. And this is a bless your heart here. You see, we have all this new growth here that's telling me it's time to fertilize. Once again, all of this new growth here, that's telling me it's time to fertilize. This is where your berries are going to be at for next year. So here are the things that I use. It's a very simple formula. It's going to be 50% sphagnum peat moss. And sphagnum peat moss, because it is acidic, we're going to have 25% of our own compost. And then why is this empty? Because we're going to take the mini pine bark nuggets that are already covered as the mulch in our bed. We're going to take these out. Most of their roots are going to be no more than 6 inches below. You see all those fibers right there? That's why I tell people, once you get your blueberries planted in, everything's going to be on the top of the soil. So it's very important that you mulch. Now all of this mulch right here, these are my mini pine bark nuggets. They're already starting to break down. And as they start to break down, they become more acidic. So let me put my gloves on here. And we're going to take out some of those pine bark nuggets on top so we can get down to the roots. And a big part of this whole thing is just knowing your plants. And I tell you that all the time because the plants actually speak to you. This is where the main flush of your blueberries are going to come in over the spring. Now, we're going to have to do some pruning, but we'll have another video on how to prune our blueberry bushes because we prune our blueberry bushes in the middle of the winter. This is the main thing, and you hear me talk about this all the time, cottonseed meal. A lot of people use berrytone, and I have used berrytone, and there's nothing wrong with it, but cottonseed meal. 6% nitrogen, 1% phosphorus, and 1% potassium. That to me has seemed to be the perfect mix for these blueberry bushes. I only use a 1/4 cup of the cottonseed meal for this mix I'm finna show you. And that is the secret to how my blueberry bushes do so well every year. And oftentimes, like I said, you guys ask me, why do I plant my blueberries in these planters that are 48-inch round? You see those fibers there? That's how wide that blueberry bush is walking. The blueberry bush does not go down deep. At best, you might have it down to 12 inches, but on average, it's going to be about 6 inches that the roots are going to go down to, but they're going to spread out. So you don't really want to disturb that. That's the reason why I'm taking these mini pine bark nuggets off the top. And this is what we're going to use to put back into our mix, being that these are breaking down. You see how they're just crumbling? That's what we want, because as these age, they become more acidic. Any type of weeds you see growing in there, get them out of there because your blueberry bushes do not compete well. Like I said, this is all we're going to need for what we're doing. And we're going to come over here to our wheelbarrow. Again, we want 50% of our sphagnum peat moss. And this mix also goes for when you're planting your new blueberry bushes, it's the exact same mix. I don't change anything. It's 50% sphagnum peat moss, 25% mini pine bark nuggets, and 25% compost, along with a 1/4 cup of that cottonseed meal. So here, 25% of our mini pine bark nuggets. You see? And then we're gonna come over here and get our compost. We're gonna do 25% of our compost. We're gonna get our cottonseed meal, and that's a 1/4 cup. And then we're just gonna mix all of that together. This is what your blueberry bush mix should look like. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna hold off waiting that in, and we're gonna come back and rake some more of these pine bark nuggets off. This is all gonna be our mulch. And this just makes it so much easier when you got these beds set up like this. We're gonna push these up towards the root ball of the bush because we want to fertilize out towards the end. This is where the feeder roots are. And look at all this now. This is what I'm telling you. You see all of this? These are your roots from the blueberry bush. See how they're spread all out here? So that's why you don't want to do a whole lot of digging. You really just want to focus on your top. Now your blueberry bushes, you should be giving them on average about 3 gallons of water per week because they thrive. Again, those roots are so close to the surface, you want to make sure that they stay moist. And this is all we're doing, all the way around. So what we're doing here, we want to do this twice a year. This is going to be our spring feeding, and it's going to be our fall feeding. And right now we're in the first part of September, end of August, but that new growth is going to tell you when it's time to feed them. The same way if you're burning your energy, your plants are going to tell you the same thing. When they're burning that energy to get that new growth, they're getting ready to push out those blueberries. You need to give them some food. You're just going all the way around because your feeders are going to be on the outside. The majority of my bushes are southern high bushes, and they average 4 to 6 feet tall. These bushes here are 3 years old, and they're already taller than me. So this is what I expect out of my blueberry bushes. And that's the reason why I have them planted in these planters the way that they are. So once they reach full maturity, you'll still be able to get good airflow around them. The sunlight's able to come in on them, and that's what's going to make those berries pop. They got to have that sunlight in them. If they don't have that sunlight, you're going to have small berries. And also pruning. That's something that we're going to be doing during the winter time. If you are not pruning, you are not encouraging that new growth. And that's what we're doing right here. We're encouraging the new growth and giving it a consistent feeding all the way around. And all of this is going to be for holding in that moisture. Everything we're doing now is about keeping those blueberries moist because the blueberries, they do not like to be dried out. If you're drying your blueberries out, they're going to produce less fruit for you. 3 gallons a week is what they on average need. And I like to have at least 3 inches of mulch on top. And that's about a half a bag of these mini pine bark nuggets. And this is what's going to keep those roots cool. That 3 inches of mulch on top. You don't have to worry too much about overdoing this because every year this stuff is going to break down. And that's what you want. That's why I like the mini pine bark nuggets because it's smaller particle size. This stuff does not break down without life in the soil. And then all we're going to do is water it in. And this is going to get that watered in real good. That cottonseed meal along with that compost to get this stuff to start breaking down. And that's what's going to keep this plant looking healthy throughout the year. That blueberry bush wants to live between a 4.5 and a 5.5 on the pH scale. With those mini pine bark nuggets, as they start to break down, that's where you're going to get that low acidity from. The cottonseed meal as well, that's going to be another place where you're going to be able to get that pH to come down on this blueberry bush because that cottonseed meal is also for acid-loving plants. That compost, that helps break it all down and makes this a complete feeding cycle for our blueberry bushes. It's time to fertilize, and we're growing out the box.